You're listening to Off the Court, a show dedicated to making you the best version of yourself as an athlete and as a person. I'm Coach Jack, CEO and owner of Close the Gate Hoops. If you want to take your life and game to the next level, this is the podcast for you. Let's get it. What up, gatekeepers? Back at you with another episode of Off the Court. Today, breaking bad habits. Right now, we're at 2,400 downloads. They keep ramping up, and it's very exciting to see more and more people reach out to us and seeing how this podcast is affecting them. Now is the time to change your shot in the off season. We have the Ctg Shooting Academy. It's the perfect blend of the knowledge, the drills, and the mindset necessary to become an elite shooter. We are currently in the process of making a Ctg skill building academy, and what this will be, it'll be a monthly program that's giving kids about 50 drills to work on every single month to add to their game, but it is progressive. So it will be strategically placed from the first month to the 12th month. In order to get the best results, because you can't just do random things and expect your growth speed to be fast. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. Today I got Coach Aaron and Coach Connor.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Jack.
I want to let you know right now, Gatekeepers, 3v3 is coming. By the time this episode is released, we should have already made the official announcement of 3v3. I really encourage all of you Gatekeepers to reserve your spot as soon as possible, because there is going to have to be a maximum amount of kids at some point, especially with the referral offer that we have with Bring a Buddy. There's probably going to be tons of kids in our 3-on-3 league, and I don't want any of my current CTG students or any past CTG students not getting the availability to get in the 3-on-3 because they didn't reserve their spot soon enough. So please, if you haven't done that yet, do it right now as you're listening to this podcast. Breaking bad habits. This is a great topic to talk about because, in my personal opinion, people focus on the wrong aspect or wrong side of habits, and people focus more on things that they're trying to add in terms of a habit, when the first thing you should do is clean your slate and get rid of all the bad habits first, because that will actually bring you faster results in terms of growth and maximizing your time. So Aaron's actually the one that picked this topic again for the podcast. And if you gatekeepers listening want us to talk about something specifically, always just let us know and we can make a podcast on it right away. But Aaron, did you want to elaborate a little bit on why you wanted to talk about breaking bad habits and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I mean, everybody has bad habits. You know, it's a part of life, but not everyone is very good at breaking bad habits. And I think there's a lot of outdated kind of things that people say about breaking bad habits, I guess. So to break a bad habit, you have to really, really genuinely want to change. If you do not genuinely want to, you will not change. A lot of people, they think they want to change and change these things about their life, right? But in reality, they don't actually want to, because if they did, they would be making these changes.
And a lot of that too with genuine change is these small little micro decisions. And I actually wrote this down. One of my favorite books ever is called The Compound Effect. I strongly recommend all of you to read it. But it's basically about how all these little decisions that you think have no effect on your life basically shape your entire life. And what this is, like when, say, someone's on a diet or something and they're trying to lose weight. So obviously they're trying to break a bad habit of their poor eating habits. But what a lot of them do is they jump into it too quickly and they go into a strict diet right away. And then when you start to get cravings, obviously in the first week or second week of your diet, you're going to have obviously temptations to break your diet. Okay. But when you're on this diet and that one, say it's like a Saturday night and you're like, all right, it's a cheat day, I can do this quick. That one tiny little decision to break your initial diet is going to snowball effect into your whole diet crashing in the first place. Like for me personally, when I was on a diet, I did meal prep for like a month, and I literally just ate like chicken, rice, and broccoli. And I've gotten away from that a little bit just because it was so strict I couldn't follow it. But the problem is every day I got to a Saturday or Sunday, I would have a cheat day, and I would overeat my cravings, so it would completely screw the diet in the first place. But just remember, every time that, say you are on a diet and you think about having say a cookie or something that you know you're not supposed to eat, think about how you're going to feel after you eat that. And I know, especially if I'm on a diet, after I eat something that's not good for you, I'm like, why did I just do that? That was pointless, because you literally eat it for 1 minute and then it's gone. but then that's going to affect your decisions down the line, and then you just make more bad habits. So small little things that you do throughout your day shape you as a person.
This kind of gets into a thing that Close the Gate talks about a ton, which is the concept of chasing failure. Trying to break a habit is a very good example of chasing failure, because when you're trying to break habits, it's obviously super hard. You're gonna mess up. You might fall back into your old habits, right? That's a form of failure, okay? But by chasing that failure and falling back into that habit, right, you're gonna create change in your own life, and you're gonna get better, right? So I think it's definitely it kind of ties into what we teach here at Close the Gate, which is another reason I wanted to talk about this. And so there's definitely numerous ways that make breaking bad habits easy. Obviously, everyone thinks the cold turkey way is the best way, but it can be very difficult that way. One example that kind of has helped me is having friends be support and having them hold you accountable. So an example I can think of, when I was up at school, I was eating a lot of fast food, and I made a bet with two of my friends. I said, if you see me eating fast food, I owe you $50, okay, for like a month. So I mean, and I didn't want to pay either of them $50, obviously, but that held me accountable. So I mean, friends are always really, really good to keep you in line, I guess.
Were you trying to save money for that, or?
A little bit of both. Fast food's probably not always good for you either.
Yeah, but you don't gain any weight off fast food.
Well, that might be why,
That's really, really good, Aaron, because that also it ties right in with goals too. So if you have true aspirations and dreams, you should always be telling your friends about it. Just like if you're trying to break a bad habit, tell your friends about it, because then that makes it more real. And then it's going to push you to actually want to do it more because you told someone you're going to do it. If you just keep it to yourself and you say you want to lose 10 pounds, but you don't tell anyone about it, well, no one ever knew that you wanted to lose 10 pounds, and they're not even going to see that you actually just said, screw it, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? So always telling people about something you're trying to accomplish, or breaking a bad habit, or setting a goal, even if it's completely your friends. Most people, when they have true aspirations and dreams, friends would laugh and say, you're never going to be able to do that. But you have to get to a point where you are going to tell them that to prove them wrong, and it makes it more of a reality because they can hold you accountable, and their judgment can hold you accountable of if you're going to accomplish it or not.
Right. And with saying that, you definitely want to surround yourself with people that will help you reach these goals and things like that, right? If there's people that are constantly like bringing you back into whatever kind of habits that you're making or you're doing, you definitely want to try to realign yourself with people that have the same goals as you and have the same values as you and things like that.
That's awesome. Coach Connor, why don't we throw you into the mix a little bit? What did you want to add and talk about your thoughts on what breaking bad habits means to you?
So to dive in, what kind of Aaron said about eating fast food, or Jack talking about goals, something in your body that we all produce is something called dopamine. Again, goes throughout your body and it makes you feel pleasure. So whether that's eating junk food, playing video games, smoking, any bad habits can produce dopamine. There's other things that can also produce dopamine. I would say over 99% of bad habits are unproductive.
Well, one thing to go off that too, you can't let your mentality be swayed by knowing that, because everyone has bad habits. Like, they're inevitable. Nobody's perfect in terms of habits. So you can't get down on yourself if you think, wow, I have a million bad habits. Everyone has to go through them, but that should be even more of excitement because it's an opportunity to get rid of them. And to go off your dopamine, that's really, really good. And that's exactly why you should be focused on getting rid of habits instead of adding them first, because your dopamine can be switched on the things you are focusing on. For an example, I posted this like a long time ago, and this is kind of when Close Gate first started to get traction in terms of life coaching and motivation and stuff, and it was called the Boredom Theory. So the theory was that you would be a smarter human being if you say you're going to study. All right, say you need to study, you need to learn something. Okay, most people do their homework or whatever they're trying to study with their phone right next to them, or the TV on in front of them, or they were just on their phone and then they went to their homework, right? Okay, and like you said, one of the things people are highly addicted to is social media. Social media sends huge dopamine spikes, and that's why people keep scrolling and they're craving likes. So if you're on your phone before you go and study, let's say to learn, okay, you obviously have huge dopamine spikes when you're on your phone, okay? And then say you go to study, okay? The dopamine spikes, they're still there, but they're obviously much smaller than the ones you had on your phone. So obviously, when we go back to the boredom theory, which one do you think will be boredom to whoever's trying to study? The person that has higher dopamine spikes on their phone and social media before they study, or then they go to study, there's still dopamine spikes, but they're much smaller.
The second one?
Yes, so the second one, right? But the boredom theory is that you stare at a wall for 10 minutes before you study, okay? Obviously, if you stare at a wall, you're going to be bored out of your mind, so there's going to be no dopamine activity whatsoever, okay? So you're not having any pleasure by looking at this wall for 10 minutes. But then you go to study, all right? Say it's your passion, okay? And those dopamine spikes, they're still there. They're still obviously not as strong as the social media, but now which one will your brain equate boredom to? There's no dopamine spikes in the wall, your brain's going to equate that to boredom. So then you're going to get more excited about studying.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that's how you can trick your brain. So we have dopamine about everything, but it's about what you're actually doing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important you get rid of bad habits first and then focus on adding good habits. Because when you're addicted to things like social media and things of that nature, it takes the fun out of so many other things. And that's why so many kids end up not finding their passion because they're preoccupied with things they're already addicted to, like video games or social media. But everyone, I know there's something out there for everyone in terms of what they want to do with their life that they all truly love to do. But you find 90% of people not enjoying themselves. And that's honestly because people don't try to find their passion enough.
One thing to add about just people being addicted to social media. I watched a couple weeks ago on Netflix. It's like a documentary series. It's called The Social Dilemma.
So good.
And you have to watch it. It's insane how the statistics and the information that they give you about social media, how people use their phone, and how people in the background use it, like Apple, how they interact with you. For example, they talk about when your phone buzzes, automatically your dopamine rises. It spikes. Mm-hmm. I just think it's super good. Super informative, and I think everyone should watch it.
And to go off that, actually we'll talk about that a little later, but it's designed, social media is designed to keep you on your phone. And that's why we have to find preventative ways to stay off it. And this is why I'm going back. I'm going to dive in. The key to breaking bad habits is progression. You can't just throw yourself into something right away. You can't spend 4 hours a day on social media and then tomorrow you're like, all right, I'm not going to go on social media the whole day, because it's never going to work, because you're after 2 days you're going to be like, all right, I can't do this. You have to slowly progress. So say 5 minutes less every single day I'm going to go. So tomorrow it's going to be 3 hours and 55 minutes. The next day 3 hours and 50. And you slowly progress to the point where you're on your phone for 30 minutes on social media. But to get on this point again, it's two sides of the coin. So yes, social media, 90% of people use it the wrong way. But you can use it as your friend too. Like Close the Gate, we put out 2 to 3 drills on our TikTok every single day. If you're just using Close the Gate to find better knowledge on what to do with your workouts, obviously that's productive because that's going to affect what you're doing and trying to get better at. But if you're watching people dancing on TikTok or House of Highlights, yes, you like sports, but you could go through House of Highlights thing for ages, and that's not necessarily productive unless you're maybe studying film on what players do and things of that nature. But it's also how you use it in terms of what can be unproductive and not unproductive with social media.
And I see this all the time, going along with how it's a process, it's a progression. If with my students that I'm training, if we're working on changing something with their form, I see them getting frustrated. They're missing a lot of shots, or they're not really understanding the concept, and a lot of times they don't realize that it's just not an overnight change. It's not going to just happen instantly, right? It's a process. And again, we're going back to chasing failure, right? We want to sometimes get worse to get better, if that makes sense.
That's really, really good. So one of the best quotes I can say, if you're ever like changing a shot or something, or You're trying to get over something that you've been doing one way for so long, and that's regression equals progression. And my kids get so confused when I say that at first, but it makes total sense when I actually dive in deep to what it means. So obviously regression means you're not improving, and then progression means that you are improving. If you're changing your shot, you're obviously going to miss more. Okay, so you're getting worse. But if you're changing your shot, then you're obviously getting closer to your end goal. So as you regress, you're actually progressing towards that end goal. And that's why I always talk about you should never, ever care about temporary results. Temporary results really mean nothing. It's all about the end goal, what your future self wants. And that's why I got to work on the book. But Future You Will Thank You, we talked about that one. I think that'll be the first book I write. But it's all about your future you. And that's why it goes back to compound effect. The small decisions that affect your everyday life. Yeah. Temporary Jack's going to really enjoy that cookie, right? But future Jack's going to hate temporary Jack for doing that. So I thought that was really, really good, Aaron, that you added to that part.
Another huge thing about social media is it kind of hooks onto you without your knowledge of it hooking onto you. It's like in your subconscious. So it can be almost out of your control in that way. And that goes with another thing that we always like to do here at CTG, and it's meditation. It's gaining control over your own mind and practicing your own mindfulness, because a lot of times people they don't even realize that they've just picked up their phone and scrolled through Instagram for an hour. They're completely mindlessly doing it. But when you meditation is a great way to grab control of that, and you can actually start to see things like that. So again, yeah, meditation is definitely a huge thing that you could do if you're trying to break a bad habit.
And a lot of it's awareness and observation too. Like, you have to be honest with yourself and make a true self-evaluation to change any of these bad habits in the first place.
Just for me and about social media, yeah, like I fall victim to it. With a bad habit to social media, I use my phone too much. When my phone buzzes, yeah, I instantly will stop what I'm doing, whether that's schoolwork, homework, even CTG stuff for Jack. And I look at my notification. So it's addicting, and it's a bad habit, but I don't even realize it.
But you're observing it right now, which is obviously the first step to the whole process. That's another thing I want to say too. This is one thing I went over in one of our last meetings for Close the Gate. But when you guys, because Connor and Isaac, Aaron's different because I know his hours because he trains. Connor's in the process of learning how to train. But Connor and Isaac, like Connor does the business side of things, Ike does filming. So obviously I have to trust them in writing down their hours on the Google Calendar. But I tell them if they're going to write down hours that their phone cannot be in the same room that they're working on things. And that's exactly what I do whenever I know I got to hammer some things out. I'll put my phone, I'll charge it upstairs, and I work downstairs in the office. So I know I'm going to be 100% and completely focused on what I'm doing.
Jack really kind of taught me this when I started CTG working with him. Yeah, I know I look at my phone a lot, but when I'm going to do schoolwork from now on, or Close the Gate stuff, or like the business side, or whatever it is CTG related, if I'm downstairs in my room, I throw my phone on my bed or I throw it across the room, because I know even if I hear it buzz, like I'll sit up for a minute or something, but I know, Connor, don't go get my phone because I need to do my work.
That's good. Do you guys? I have it on Do Not Disturb always. Do you guys always have it buzzed?
I know you do, because when I call you, I have to call you twice.
That's the whole purpose I did that was because I don't want it to buzz. So then I think about the notification.
Yeah, that's smart.
Is there anything else you wanted to add before we go into the quick speed round, Aaron?
Last thing I guess I could say is if a lot of people they might slip into an old habit or a bad habit, and they instantly just give up because they think it's too hard to quit. Mm-hmm. But it's really that it's not like it's over at that point. You're looking for movement in a particular direction rather than perfection, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's always about improvement and not perfection. We yes. say that all the time, because it's never going to be perfect. You can chase perfection, but obviously once you get to what you think is perfection, there's always another thing you can improve on. Like LeBron is not perfect, Curry is not perfect. They all have weaknesses and priorities that they need to improve on in their game, in their life. It really is. It never ends. It's like climbing a mountain that doesn't have a peak to it. And that's why I always say, like, you can't put a peak on yourself. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to peak. It's just going to, you can keep climbing in other ways. Obviously, people are going to say there's a peak to his game. Well, there's things outside of the game, that your life after basketball. Like Kobe, before he died, like, he was taking over the business world of basketball. Like, that dude didn't have a peak because he just constantly kept going. To go back on what you have to do to break a bad habit in an overview, first you obviously have to acknowledge it and observe it, and give yourself an honest evaluation of what you're doing, good and bad. And I also didn't say this, we have a not productive section in our CTG productivity notebook too, which I think is very, very important, because then you can see all the things you're not doing productively that you're wasting time on. You have to make a true self-evaluation of yourself. The second thing is progression. You can't just jump in right away to trying to break a bad habit. It has to be slow over time to develop something. Like I said, Miracle Morning, Aaron said that was his favorite podcast. I've been waking up at like 3 a.m. During the weekdays. In ninth grade, I probably woke up at 7:15 every day, right? I'm not going to be able to just wake up at 3 the next day and think I'm going to be able to keep this going. It has to be a slow progression. That's what it was for me. Like, and I think it was 8th grade I started waking up early, and it went from like 6, and then next year it was 5, and then it's been 5, and now it's 3. But it's slow over time. It can't be just like that. And then the last thing too that I really went over is focus on breaking the bad habits first, and then focus on adding good habits. Really focus on maximizing your time, because when you get rid of bad habits, you're going to have all the time in the world. Like social media. Imagine if all of you just did not go on social media for a day. You'd be bored out of your mind. But then think of all the things that you could do with that time. So that's why you have to get rid of the bad habits first and then add on to it. Do you guys think that was a good overview?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's a good step-by-step in terms of my opinion on how to break that bad habit, which is very, very important.
Just because we're talking about breaking bad habits, it doesn't mean me, Coach Aaron, Coach Jack are perfect. I think we're going to go around here, and I'll start first. My worst habit is drinking caffeine.
Oh, you stole mine, bro.
And I think, yes, me and Jack both we're obsessed with caffeine. I feel like I have to have it in the morning, especially coffee. With coffee, I probably drink 2 to 3 cups in the morning, especially Monday through Friday. And especially with not just CTG stuff, but schoolwork in general. Although I can probably do my work and stuff without caffeine, I feel with caffeine, I'm in go mode. It's just, I can get so much more stuff done. So again, we're all not perfect, and that was one of my bad habits.
I like it. That's a good one.
All right, I have like 2 bad habits that I thought of. So my first one, we talked about this a ton, but social media is definitely one, and I feel like everyone kind of struggles with this, but it's definitely very addicting. But my worst one right now is going to class. I go to URock, which is it's like 20 minutes away. And there'll be days where that just sounds like the worst thing ever. And it's definitely a bad habit, because, school is very, very important, but it sometimes seems insignificant to me, but I definitely could make a change there.
I take partial credit for that. I give a big load to all my employees, so I'll take partial credit.
I mean,
for that.
I think I do a good job of prioritizing my stuff. So I if I have something else to do, I might go do that instead of school. But yeah, and going along with what Connor said about all of us have weaknesses. We're preaching to you about how we have bad habits, but every single person in the world has weaknesses, right? No one ever runs out of weaknesses, which is another thing we say here. But yeah, those are my bad habits.
I like those ones, Aaron. Connor kind of stole mine. I don't drink as much caffeine as Connor, but I definitely drink caffeine. Like, I'll probably have a bubbler when I wake up in the morning, and then one midday, and then if I'm going through training and I'm really, really tired, then I might have a third one. So that's 225 milligrams of caffeine. It's not terrible, considering how much I sleep, but I would definitely say I drink too much. And like we said with the progression, you're not going to be able to just completely clean your slate of caffeine right away. Like, you're going to have to try and drink like half of a cup less a day, and then just go from there. But caffeine, it's definitely a tool that you can use, but it's just like anything. You have to have a balance. Can't use too much caffeine. And not using caffeine can sometimes be dumb. Like if you're doing something really important, like I love to drink caffeine when we do this podcast, just because I'm in the zone, and obviously that's gonna turn out better in terms of influencing other people. So I'm smart about when I do use my caffeine sometimes, but yes, that's definitely, I do drink too much caffeine. I thought I'd add another one just because Connor stole mine, but looking at my text messages too much is definitely a bad habit of mine, just because most of my screen time is 100% my text messages, just because I probably get over 100 text messages a day, just from like talking to Connor and Aaron and all the kids, all the parents. I have to filter through all that every single day. I need to do a better job of what's called batching messages. So like I respond to all of them like 2 separate times throughout the day. Like at 5 a.m. I respond to every single one, and then like say 12 p.m. I respond to every single one, instead of just trying to respond to them as quickly as possible. That's definitely a bad habit that I need to get better at. But that was good, Connor. I love the idea. We're definitely not perfect, and especially when we talk about all these things, we're just trying to plant seeds. We're not trying to, if we say something that's counterintuitive to whatever you believe, like that's totally normal, but we're just trying to plant seeds in thought, because like if we talk about something that you don't believe in, but that plants a seed that there's actually that other side of the coin, like someone actually thinks something different, and then 2 years down the line, you're like, oh, maybe this dude is right about that. We're not trying to influence you immediately. We're just trying to get you to think outside of what you've already been thinking.
And again, don't think just because you like to eat cookies or like to eat as a dessert or play video games, you immediately have to stop this, okay? Yeah, those are fun. They taste good, okay? But we're not saying completely cut those out of your life. You can still have fun.
That's definitely good. And obviously relative to your age. If you're 10 years old and you think you're just going to completely get rid of candy, that's very unrealistic. Like I definitely had a ton of candy when I was 10 years old. But it's the same thing. Like Connor just said, you can't just immediately get rid of it. It's just going to be slowly but surely. And like I haven't ate dessert. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have ice cream sometimes when I go out to eat, but like say I'm at home, I never have dessert at home. But that's the reason I think that is because I gave up soda for Lent like 4 years ago. I haven't drinking soda since, and stuff like that. It just slowly progresses over time to the point where I just don't even want dessert now, because I personally think it's because I gave up soda like 4 years ago.
Just to add on to Jack not drinking soda, I probably haven't drank soda in 4 or 5 months, and part of the reason is I can drink, instead of, water's kind of boring. Obviously, it's really good for you, but some like alternative choices for me. I drink like sparkling ice flavored water, or like a bubbler. Has caffeine in it, sadly, but it's an alternative to something that tastes better than water.
That's good. All right, quick speed round, Connor. I'll give you the first one. What's the best piece of life advice someone's ever given you?
For me, I think it'd just be, I guess not necessarily, no one really told me this, but just basing it off of throughout my life, I guess, and definitely throughout high school, is just work hard, work your butt off. It can go a long way, just because whether it's in sports or a career you choose.
Yeah, and it translates to everything. Like I was obsessed with working on basketball, and now it's translated to close the gate. That's definitely one of the biggest things. But I want to add to that. One thing that I did in high school that I did not do a good job of is I worked my ass off, but I didn't add intelligence to it. So I would work really, really hard, but I didn't do enough research on what the things I should have been working on and things of that nature. So you have to make sure that you're working hard and smart at the same time. They both need to blend together for maximum results.
It kind of goes with work smarter, not harder.
But you don't want to not work hard. You know what I mean? You want to combine the two. That's why I added that. It's got to be work hard plus work smart equals the best results, if you put that into equation. You want to add 2 questions, Aaron?
Yeah. All right. What was your favorite class you've taken so far in college?
Connor's an English major.
No, I'm not. I just write a lot of papers this semester, and I have a paper due Sunday. It's what's the day? Tuesday. 7-page paper due Sunday. I haven't started, but No, I'm not an English major. I'm going into sports management right now, and I took a sports management class this semester, and it's all about like sport communication, like behind the scenes in a like professional sports business. So,
Like close the gate.
yeah, kind of like close the gate.
Yes, sir. You got another one? Okay, I got a good one. This is Aaron's OG question. If you can make, or wait, I think Sam did this one. If you can make a large animal small, what would it be?
A blue whale.
A blue whale. I said whale too.
Think about if you had like a great white shark in a fishbowl. That would be insane.
I like that idea. That's really good. All right. Thank you for listening, gatekeepers. Just remember to give truthful self-evaluation of what you're doing productively, not productively, and then obviously progress. You can't jump into it right away. It's got to be slow, and it's got to take overtime. But as long as you have the right end goal in mind, that's the key. We're striving for improvement, not perfection. You cannot be perfect. You can chase perfect, but it's all about the improvement. So thanks for listening, gatekeepers. Until next time, I'm Coach Jack. We out, baby. Peace.